Okay, to people who are watching this live stream, this is one of our infinite series of meetings about incremental development of Wolfram Language, and we are talking about a variety of different topics today. Let's start off. Oh, wow. That was easy. With a function that I was thinking about. We have framed, and I was thinking we might like a function called circled as well.
Lou pointed out to me earlier that it's not that easy.
Yes, it certainly is not. So if you replace framed, if you replace hello with a grid of identity matrix of, I don't know, 10 or so. So framed with a rounding radius has never properly measured its frame margins from the rounding pieces of the frame. So the content can escape.
So I said something like framed of graphics of disk, for example.
Right. Yes, with a rounding radius. That the graphic will escape the frame.
Well, rectangle, not disk.
Right.
That's beautiful. Okay, so okay. All right, explain that to me.
Right, so the frame margins are being computed from what would be the flat sides of the frame. They're not being computed from the rounded pieces of the frame. So you might think of this as just a bug in frame margin support of framed.
No, I can see there's a box here, and the problem is that the box is an adequate box, but when you, I guess see the problem.
Yeah.
How related is this problem to the problem we have with 3D graphics of not going out, not properly shrink wrapping to the box size?
I don't think it's related at all.
Isn't it the same conceptual problem?
Well, the content, you might not want the content of this to be rectangular. So for instance, if you just had a bunch of text in the first argument of this frame, would you want the first line of text to be shorter than the second line because the top of the circle is shorter than the next, etc.?
Do we have any mechanism for doing that?
In other words, you're specifying an envelope for the, not non-rectangular envelopes, no.
Okay. Well, seems to me what we should do with this is put in the function repository right now with its bug. Because it's already very useful, you know, with the bug, so to speak. Yeah, I mean, because there are plenty of applications where it's perfectly sufficient to just circle a single number, for example. It's a little weird that it isn't. What would happen if I always wanted it to be a circle? Can I do that?
You can do that by specifying your own image size to be the same vertically as horizontally. I don't know that there's an automatic way. There's an automatic setting for doing that.
Sorry.
Right. Try 10 to the n.
No, it's going to look stupid. But I mean,
yeah.
I want the circles around the numbers to all look like the circles around 10, even if they have white space in them.
Right. In order to do that, you'd need to measure the height of the content and then make the frame, set an image size for the frame box to have that height and width. That's the only way to do it currently.
Okay, but that's not that. I mean, isn't there a way of measuring the size of text? What is it?
Rasterize has a raster size second argument.
Okay, so if I say rasterize that, okay, and then what do I do?
Well, you take the larger of those and you set the frame box image size to be 1717.
Okay, so I can say that in framed image size, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, maybe I shouldn't do this right now, but I mean, you know, this could be essentially a function
That's only if you wanted a circle, you didn't want an ellipse or an oval.
Right, I understand. So it might want to be an option for circled, for example. But I mean, would this work in this case? Okay, so let's do circled
If
goes.
you don't mind paying the penalty of doing the measuring yourself, then yes, it can work.
Well, I mean, as a function repository thing, that's absolutely fine and dandy. Okay, so you're saying it's this, and then it's saying framed of expr, comma, that rounding radius. Is that correct?
I think it needs to be scaled of 1, not 0.5.
I think 0.5 is working.
Have you tried it for larger expressions?
Well, anyway, okay, so this says image size, arrow.
Hash.
Okay, so now you say circled of 100. Oops. Well, something went wrong there. What does yeah, okay, so we're not.
What went wrong?
Is that image size wrong?
I'm not sure.
Well, that was right, at least. Okay, look, I think this is a useful function. I mean, look, it's just, that's a useful thing to be able to do, to give,
So as someone who's not participated in the function repository much, does adding this there prohibit us from adding a proper system context version of it?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No, absolutely not.
Good.
I mean, I think we should plan on having a system context version of this, because I think it's obviously useful, and it'll have various options, like whether it's like this, or whether it's, and probably by default, it should stay circular up to some size until it becomes ridiculous to be circular. Am I making sense?
Sure. So you have some maximum eccentricity.
Exactly.
Want it to be interpreted as the contents, right? Like we have for highlighted, where it will.
I mean, framed doesn't.
Yeah, frame doesn't do that. I wouldn't worry about that. That's not the main point. It's perfectly okay for it to just be circled, just like it's framed. All right. So something for, if Lou, if you can make a version of this, if it's easy for you to make a version that isn't totally silly, that would be very useful. And at the beginning, we can just put it in the function repository.
Okay.
And let me just store this in. Hold on, in my repositories collection. I'm going to make a note. Okay, let's go on then.
Okay, so we don't need Lou for the rest of the meeting.
Okay, terrific. Thank you, Lou.
Bye.
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 Okay, so the next topic is the addition of multiple new options in geo-elevation data.
Okay.
And the names are tentative, so we will discuss the names of some of them, because this is mostly image-oriented right now. So some of the names do not fit correctly. So the first one is Geo Projection. So until now, geo-elevation data always returned things in equirectangular projection, which means that they were distorted, mostly if they were very far from the equator. That's why we are using here Iceland.
Yep.
So that was the previous result. And you see those images are showing the distorted equirectangular result and the correct result. So now we can tell the system, choose the appropriate projection, which is Mercator in this case, and it will show that new result, which is the appropriate one.
I'm a little confused. In the default case, every pixel here represents I see. It can't represent the same region on the Earth because it is a rectangular array, but obviously the Earth is not.
Right. So here we have recomputed the dimensions of the result, and we have interpolated the original result so that we have a proper array that when passed to listplot 3D or something like that, returns something non-distorted.
I'm a little confused. So this originally is with respect to lat long coordinates. Is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. So each pixel is some angular measure that's constant.
I don't understand what the default should be, though.
Yes. So we have the tendency. Okay. So we have the tension between keeping backward compatibility, that would point towards equirectangular, also because the original data is equirectangular, and now the new, more useful view of things.
How slow is it to convert? Is it slow? And also, does it have aliasing artifacts?
Well, in fact, this is using now linear interpolation rather than nearest neighbors, which is what we use in geographics for speed. So it looks a bit better than, but so it's also a bit slower, but it's not bad.
I mean, my point is that for geo projection data that is very local, it doesn't matter what projection it is.
Well, it does, for example, in this case, right? I mean, if it's very local, but it's very much to the north, it will be distorted.
I see. I see.
And in fact, it was always distorted. It's just that we were using examples relatively close to the equator.
Yeah, it's funny. I was doing a bunch of examples when I was visiting Brazil, and I guess that those had the feature that they were reasonably close to the equator.
Right.
Funny. Okay, and they worked nicely. All right. So you're saying we would default to Mercator. Is that right?
For example, if we do automatic, we can get even Antarctica right, which looks quite nice.
I see. Okay, so automatic means what? The same as we would use for geo, the same as what we would use for geoimage or geographics.
Yes, in geoimage we decided that the default was Mercator because that's what it's usually seen in other places, and because we don't always have image data near the poles, but we do have data for the poles here.
What happens? I think I've done this before. If I say geoimage of South Pole, why does it just say Antarctica there? Okay, geo range, let's say 1,000, no, let's say 500 miles. Is that going to produce something reasonable, or is that going to produce some bizarre artifact?
Yeah, it's Mercator, and because we only have up to some point, then the rest is blank. Now try that same input with geographics. And geographics is able to realize that it has to switch to an azimuthal projection around the pole.
I see.
Right. So now do the geogrid lines goes to automatic, and then we see the grid lines.
That's cool. What happens if I do geogrid lines on here?
There are not, because this is an image. We don't put anything on top of on the image.
Surely we could put the grid lines on top of the image.
But then we would have to return oh, do you mean rasterizing them?
Yeah, is that stupid? It's stupid. Never mind.
Because geographics is basically geoimage plus vector stuff. I think that's the way to go.
Okay, fine. All right. So basically, you're saying geoprojection will follow the geographics. I mean, sorry, geoelevation data will follow the geographics conventions.
I tend to prefer that because working in the documentation, for example, because in most cases we want to show maps and.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so geoimage, however, if you wanted to superimpose a geoimage on a geoelevation data, how will you make that work?
With geoimage, you can always specify the projection you want, or you can say geoprojection goes to automatic. Try there in the geoimage, geoprojection goes to automatic.
I mean, I kind of feel that Yeah, I think that's
It's just that we don't have data in that region. And you
so
see it.
what? I mean, by the way, surely we can get this for just this one tile. We won't have very high resolution data, but I think we should make this work. Or are you saying that GeoImage for other places will look stupid as well?
No, there is, I mean.
Okay, but let's look at Iceland.
Yeah. So this is going to be Mercator. Mercator doesn't look that bad.
Why is it taking so long? Okay, so now if I were to say Geo Projection arrow automatic.
It's probably going to be the same one, because in this case, this is small enough that it goes to Mercator. If you say, I don't know, the US, then it jumps to...
No, I don't want to say US. I want to say something that's really northern.
Sweden. Or...
Well, let's try Svalbard.
Yeah. That's also going to be Mercator.
It's not northern enough to not be Mercator?
No. Mercator depends on the size.
Maybe Norway.
Right. So if
that's pretty low resolution.
Yes.
Okay, that's surprisingly low resolution.
Yes. I would have to investigate when that is. We can increase that. That's a bit too small, perhaps.
But we do have satellite imagery. Okay, what happened there?
I'm wondering whether this, for some reason, is not switching to digital globe. I think it should at this point. This is the regime in which it should be switching to digital globe.
Well, but also, why was it black with the wrong geo projection? See, why is it black on the geo projection? Something is screwy here. But in terms of, I mean, I have to say, the idea that GeoImage and geo elevation data, the idea that these are going to be different seems very problematic to me, so that you can't superimpose them. I think if it's efficient and doesn't lead to aliasing artifacts, being able to have GeoImage, have the same conventions about geoprojection will be highly desirable.
Okay, I can explore that.
Okay. And I really do think we surely can get one tile of the Earth viewed from the South Pole.
But it's not one tile. It's the tiles corresponding to each zoom. So,
yeah,
Francisco, can you comment on that?
Yes. So that something we have been thinking some time ago was to get, for example, tiles in let's say a simultaneous projection for south or something like that, but we still don't have that. So we will need also to support a different projection in the server itself to have nice resolution tiles for this.
Okay, but even not, look, by the time somebody is trying to get high resolution pictures of a particular snowdrift, tough luck. But it's just kind of embarrassing that you can't look at the Earth from the bottom, so to speak. I mean, I'm just suggesting some low res tiles around there. It's not the highest priority by any means.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also about the default projection, what I think maybe it's could be problematic is that for geoelevation data, sometimes what we want is the data and not something to do a map necessarily. So we should think about that also.
Yes, I mean, yes, we want the data in such a way that the metric on the data is such that, the distance from mountain peak to mountain peak is correct.
Right.
And how is that achieved? There's no projection that will achieve that, because unless we were to, have the base space for the geo elevation data to be part of a sphere, right? Insofar as, if I'm not mistaken, insofar as the sort of the base space is a rectangular thing, we're never going to get that precisely.
Well, for small regions, the Mercator projection will get very close. Just you need to know the scale, but the shapes of things will be correct, modulos and global rescaling. But the rectangular projection is never going to get that correct. Far from the equator.
Okay, so right, so that's your argument for why we should use Mercator.
Right.
Okay. So I'm sorry, was there an outstanding issue left here?
No, unless Francisco complains a lot, I think we should change this to automatic.
Okay. All right, let's keep going. Background.
Yes, so this is something we discussed in the past, and
Yep.
the idea is GeoImage does that. So there are points that are not in the world, so we have the option background to specify what it should be. So now we need basically the same thing.
I think it should say missing out of projection or something. Missing not in projected region.
But it's not so much, well, if we do that, suddenly we are going to unpack and then everything will be super slow. I think,
So this is an implementation issue.
Well, yes, but it's a fundamental thing. So I think we.
Well, I know, but the problem of having missing in packed data, I mean, can we get indeterminate to work?
No, we'll unpack as well.
Are
We'll
you
have
sure?
any value that represents.
Okay, fine. But I mean, that is a separate issue which we need to address post 12, is how to put missings into packed material.
Yes.
But anyway, it's very typical to have some kind of not data or missing value for in elevation data. So for example, GeoTIFF also has in the metadata they have a not data value, so they know that
Look,
every single.
Come on, guys. Any value is a hack. The correct answer is missing. So we can put in a hack if we want to, but putting, I mean, it's just a hack to do this.
It is, but it's the same thing as background, right? In images, we say background and we put some color there.
Right. Okay. So you want a default background is basically what you're saying.
Yes, because imagine that somebody is constructing a 3D model of this. That
I
person
think
will
the only correct answer is 0.
Not really, because if there is bathymetry, probably they will need something which is under some base, right?
I understand that, but any number other than like 0, okay. Okay, you want a number? I'll give you a number. The number is the radius of the Earth. That's a consistent number. It's big. What units is this thing in?
In meters. I mean, typically, or in feet. Typically, we give.
Okay, it's not too big a number. Minus that number. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but at least there is no possibility. Now, I admit that will cause graphics to blow up.
Right. Yes. So 10 kilometers was chosen because it's kind of around the deep point. But
it's what? It's deeper than the Marianas Trench? How deep is the Marianas Trench?
Around 11 kilometers, I think.
For goodness sake, don't choose something that is less deep. I mean, if we're going to choose something like that. I hate the fact that this is a number. Okay, it should be missing. Okay, let us please not choose something less deep than the deepest feature. I hate this, but I mean, if you insist, why don't we choose, I don't know, anything like this is a hack.
I understand that, but if we suddenly blow up these to tons of missings.
No, it won't work. I get that. At the present time, it won't work. I mean, this is something we have to remember for the future as soon as we can do this. All right, what do you want to do?
I'm fine with hardwiring the value of the radius of the body we're working with.
I think that may be completely correct. Oh no, actually, most things, so long as relief plot has plot range to automatic, it'll probably be okay. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Brett, what do you think about this value?
Sorry, what was the value?
Minus the radius of the body.
I think relief plot is. I don't know.
Check it.
Yeah, I mean, my concern is that if you have, I mean, so you're assuming that it'll get clipped off by the automatic, correct?
Pretty much, yeah. In that case,
right. So it depends on how dense that value is in the data.
Yeah, well, yes, that's true.
I see, because here in the bone projection is, I know, like a third. Right. So
look,
relief plot is all.
All?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's wrong. Look, this is a hack. What we're doing is clearly a hack. Growl. As I say, I mean, we should make a note that, and I don't know, Sushma, maybe you can start accumulating these things because we know we need to do this for these packed things. We know we need a way to deal with missing. You want me to pick a value? I don't know, minus 25 kilometers or something. I don't know. That's horrible. I mean, what's the deepest feature on Mars? Do you know? The tallest feature is Olympus Mons, right?
Yes.
I don't know what the deepest feature is.
I don't know either.
I was going to say, I can suggest an alternate hack that nobody will like.
What's that?
At which point all the heights are complex numbers and it can still be packed.
That's absurd.
I said nobody was going to like it.
Look, I think 0 is less ridiculous than any of these other things.
Yeah, I'm fine with 0, and then users will have to choose whatever.
Let's use 0. Let's use background arrow 0.
Okay, and do we keep background, which is always used for colors, or do we introduce a background value option?
What is the background value for a sparse array? It's just an argument, right?
Yes, I think so.
Correct. It's the second argument, third argument, third argument.
Right. Sushma, can you please report yet again that in the version 12 build here, that there is a that this raft is looking wrong?
Oh, okay, I see that. Okay.
Is it the thing on the right of it that you're talking about, or
what? No, it's just wrong. See the raft? It's those two things are smooshed together. They shouldn't be that smooshed.
Okay.
Oh, I mean, the thing Francisco is suggesting of minus the min of a 2-byte integer. No.
What I say is that that's usually used in the DEM models because they already use a 2-byte array for compacting the values. So that's the only way they have for having the no data point.
All right, geo-elevation data, should we call it background, or, what kinds of things do we have that are like background value or default value? We probably have default value stuff, but that means something different.
I don't think we should use default because default sounds something like
no,
that
I
is
know,
valid.
I know. What do we have in other cases where we have values that are outside of? I mean, this is kind of what we're doing for missing, right? So this is do we have a way of setting up something that is a by the way, that's another bug for you to report, that this didn't pick up magnification inside here, Sushma.
I don't see it. I didn't understand what you're saying.
This area here did not pick up the magnification in the notebook.
Oh, okay, I see that.
This is the information.
Yeah.
New information behavior.
There was recently a discussion about something called missing value.
That's for something different.
Mhm.
But I mean, this is really, I mean, this is such a frigging hack. The correct answer is to, look, we could document this, I suppose, right now with background, because it's going to go away, because we're eventually just going to use missing, not in projected region.
Mhm.
So I think we should support it with background right now and expect that that will be deprecated soon.
Okay.
Okay.
If we are going to support missings, also many, let's say, sources have also missing data itself in the data, so that will be better also to support some kind of missing in the packet arrays.
Yes, I agree completely.
Another question or possibility is what happens if, in the case where we think we're going to have lots of missings, we switch to a sparse array? Is it too?
Well, it would solve it, but if the thing was just full of missings, if it was dense with missings, then a sparse array would be a fine answer, but not in any.
We're probably not going to have enough low enough density to.
Yeah, right.
That's supported by quantity array. Quantity array can contain a sparse array inside and still be a quantity array.
Okay, that's nice. I assume you've been thinking about quantity arrays interacting with the rounds.
A bit, yes. That let's not go there. It's,
okay, all right, fine. Okay, Geo Range, Geo Center.
Yes, so these three are at least your ranges you have requested several times. So
yeah.
So now it works. The three of them work there.
Great.
This is all rasterized, so the results look a bit worse because they are all rasterized, so that the notebook is smaller.
Okay.
So yes.
Why is there a data reversed arrow true here?
That's because the convention in relief plot and the convention of arrays are reversed. So that's frequently needed.
I see. Okay.
Using array plot, for example, does not need that.
Right. Relief plot is the same way around as contour plot, probably.
Yes, I think so.
And list plot 3D. So list plot 3D also needs a reverse there.
Yeah, array plot is the exception, in that it goes top to bottom instead of bottom to top.
Okay.
Okay. So now we go to other options which are difficult to name, because here GeoRange, GeoRange padding, and GeoCenter are referring to the unprojected coordinates. So we have the proper name for that. But now we also need to control the results from the projected coordinates. And for example, if you get a
yeah, I understand. That's why you're talking about plot range, is that right?
Exactly. Yeah, but here plot, because we are going to return an array, doesn't sound good. So we were thinking of perhaps having something called Geogrid Range and Geogrid Range padding. And we would propagate these options through all of the Geo framework. For example,
so wait a minute. So you're saying, say that again. So don't we have some kind of data range thing that we use in?
Yes, but it's only data range. I don't think there is a padding version of this. And this is used as the origin of the transformation. So this is precisely the equivalent of our geo range, not the plot range. So they use data range and plot range as we use geo range and plot range.
Oh, this is defaulting. This is the data ranges for. I didn't even know I've forgotten we had this. Wow, that's quite venerable. Okay. So what are you proposing?
Yes, to eliminate this plotting relation, I was suggesting GeoGrid Range. And
Why is it Geogrid Range?
because in the same way that we have geoposition as unprojected and geogrid position as projected.
I see. And what units is Geogrid Range in?
That's determined by the projection. Whatever, that's determined by the...
Okay, so Geogrid position, I don't even know how to, I don't really know how to use Geogrid position.
Just give here, comma, I don't know, Albers or whatever projection.
Yes, but then I see that. So those geogrid positions are specific values specific to the projection.
Exactly.
Yeah, then this is reasonable. Geogrid range will give the values in the geogrid position in the geogrid coordinate system.
Exactly.
Now, geogrid padding, yeah, I think we have to have the same thing. Geogrid, well, it's actually geogrid range padding, right?
Right.
Okay, somewhat grotesque, but I think it's okay. And I mean, presumably we can say, we can have those functions, as you were, I think, saying, in, you know, just like we have geo range, right? We should be able to have geogrid range, right?
Exactly. Most of the
Okay.
functions taking geo range could also take this. And right now
Fine.
they are taking plot range. But if we have these new options, which are more geo-oriented, we can switch to this.
Right, but plot range is incomprehensible because it's in units. You know, it's in units where you don't even know what the units are, right?
Right. It's determined by the projection, etc. Exactly.
Okay.
And yes, the final one is raster size, which is what happens if I want to specify the size of the output matrix. And again, raster size doesn't look correct and it has the wrong orientation. So notice that there we say 600, 400, and we get back something 400, 600.
Okay. Well, what other things are like this where you're getting back an array?
This function is a bit of a first case in that sense, and that's why this hasn't happened. And we were asking this morning Shadi, and she said that there are no functions so far controlling array sizes as an option. It's always as an argument.
What's an example where it is as an argument?
Image resize. You know, I'm trying to remember. So we have like this, you know, these coordinate generating functions that are sort of like array, but or array is an example also.
Mm-hmm. But I think that as we generate, for example, this could also be applied in the geogravity model data and geomagnetism model data and future data reporting functions.
Right. I mean, the basic point is these are data functions that return arrays.
Right. So
and I don't know which other ones we're going to end up having that are of that type.
Right. But we will certainly have. And I think something called array size could be a proper name for following image size that has array dimensions.
Well, I mean, the problem is that is prescriptive of, as opposed to evaluative, so to speak. That is, I want an array of that size.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we create another function to do some kind of array resize, similar to image resize.
What does that mean? What does that do?
So to interpolate the values to the size you want.
Well, we don't want to do that because that wants to happen on the server side here. I mean, the only thing I can imagine, you're proposing array size. It just sounds awfully general for something that's just so freaking specific. It's also, the fact that we call it dimensions in the function that computes it is kind of weird.
Yes, but image dimensions is a function, not an option.
So it's dimensions, right? Dimensions is a function.
Exactly. That's why I think dimensions is not a good.
No,
name.
I agree. I mean, what this really is something more like an interpolated array size or something. Yep. Although I'm not sure that we want to commit to interpolation.
And something more specific like output array size.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be better. I hate using the word output.
Or we can put a geo here if you think this should be specific to this area.
But in this case, will be more a geogrid because it's really the final projected state, the space. So maybe grid size will be better, even better.
That's really horrific.
And without array, your grid size.
What would that mean? I mean, because it's a grid. What would that mean?
Yeah, it could be confused with Geogrid Range.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you're right. Yes.
Okay, what is this thing really? This thing is the array dimensions. I'm trying to think of other cases where we're going to. Look, okay, provisionally, I guess array size is okay. I just wish I knew. I mean, the problem is raster size, but for the fact it's the wrong way round. Why is it the wrong way round anyway?
Well, this has always been the case between the image convention and the array convention.
But why is the raster, wait a minute, the x coordinate of the raster, which one is first, x or y? It's the number of, because normally in dimensions, it's the number of rows and then the number of columns, right?
Right.
But the image stuff would be across and then up.
Right.
So you mean it's columns and then rows?
Yes.
In the array, but the dimensions of the raster, I think, follow image, right? So if we rasterize something, we get an image that has the dimensions.
Well, you're sure that this happens this way around? That if I say raster size here.
So do rasterize of
something
and ask for the raster size. Graphics of rectangle with an aspect ratio or.
That should be reported as a bug, Sushma, please.
And A is a bad choice because it's sort of square already. So just do a string of A's.
Okay.
And now ask for raster size, or image dimensions even.
Okay.
And it's much wider than it is tall.
Okay, so what's happening here? Oh, I see. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, because this is going to return an array, it would be nicer to specify array size rather than raster size.
I just think the term array size is way too general.
I'm fine with something like geo array size.
I guess it's not my favorite. I guess we can do that. Array size.
And there are going to be we already have, for example, geomagnetic model data and geogravity model data that can take this and report different sizes.
What happens? Sorry, where's the resolution specified? If I want 1 mile resolution, how do I specify that?
What do you mean resolution?
So the distance between each pixel?
So right now you can control the full geo range and their dimensions.
The resolution somehow is controlled by the geozoom level. So that's implicit in that.
Because one thing that I could imagine being useful here is to be able to say 1 mile.
But 1 mile across the whole image or between
No.
pixels?
No. Between pixels. There are two things here that are relevant. I mean, one would be to say, I want this size of array, which, by the way, I'm not going to be able to get perfectly, and it's going to require interpolation to get me that.
Right.
Or two, I want, something about, so geo zoom level, let's say, it would be lovely to have a sort of combined thing that could either be the resolution and miles, for example, or a pair that just gives, so in other words, something like GeoArray size would be both able to be, 300 by 300, or actually, well, okay, so this is screwy. This is screwy. I agree. This is screwy because there's really two different things: geo resolution, which would be 1 mile or something, which would be a useful thing to have. I mean, in addition to geo zoom level, one can be set to automatic while the other one, if geo resolution is set to 10 feet, it's like show me an image at a resolution of 10 feet or something.
Yes, we could perhaps have that quantity in the zoom level itself. And so we do a computation that infers what is the zoom level you are referring to.
Exactly, but I would think it would be better, geo zoom level is a very definite, somewhat hacky thing that's sort of burnt into the structure of the world at this point. So I think it'd be better to have a thing called geo resolution, which is just from which the geo zoom level can be determined. If geo zoom level is set to automatic, what is geo zoom level is automatic for most of our functions, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if you then set an explicit geo resolution, then which would normally default to automatic, but if you set an explicit geo resolution, it would go and do this.
But then it would be two different ways of specifying the same information.
Exactly. Yes, that is correct.
I see. So if we give both, we just ignore one.
I think we ignore the resolution. We just use the zoom level. Okay. Because the zoom level is going to work better because that's what the tiles are generated for. Look, I think we should go with geo array size and geo resolution.
Also, now that you mentioned this geo resolution, it could also be a nice, let's say, repository function to have a way to convert a distance into a zoom level. So
yes,
but that's something apart.
Yeah, right. Please write it. Yeah.
But then we don't want this quantity in the zoom level itself. Do you prefer a separate geo?
I think we want a separate thing. I don't think we want to. I think the zoom level. I think we really just want to say zoom level 13 or something because I think people understand what that is. And I think the set of people who understand resolution is different from the set of people who understand zoom level like that.
Okay. Yeah, we can do this. Yeah.
Okay, and then geo array size. Not my favorite, but.
Okay, and before we leave this, there was another one that we skipped in the previous subsection, which was aspect ratio. It's not really needed. Just to go a bit above.
Yeah, I know. I was avoiding it.
So it's not really needed because we can specify the plot range or the geo array size. to give the actuals.
I think it's fine. Let's not put aspect ratio in there. I think that's confusing. I think it's, just wait until we're dealing with non-spherical planets or non-spherical bodies in the solar system.
Right. Okay. So there is now a bunch of new functions to.
Okay.
These two to futurize and knit, and then the discussion of the name of subset map.
Okay. Okay, hold on. Let me just look at something here. So percent form is working now, is that correct?
Yes.
Something like 80%.
No, that's wrong. That period should not be there.
What?
But we have a real.
I know.
Of course it should be there.
No, it shouldn't be there.
Yes.
It looks stupid. It looks stupid. It's the same stupidity up here. Look,
no, we don't make exact numbers out of approximate numbers.
It's not an exact number. It's not an exact number. It's a percentage. It just looks stupid. Nobody's going to use this.
All right, try 0.7348.
Then it should have decimals. Then it's fine.
Oh, right. Decimals. Okay, and where do we figure that out?
Okay, look. See this? This has digits that it's not showing, right? This is the same deal as with a round and so on.
Well, we actually can control that by an option setting.
I understand.
Yes.
Are you telling me it's too difficult to implement this, or are you telling me that you?
I'm telling you that it's a stupid heuristic that would be.
It's an important heuristic because nobody's going to use this. It's the same thing up here. That looks stupid. 125% looks stupid, and people will not use it.
So let me just see if I have this correct. The heuristic you advocate is if it were to give a whole number percentage, then remove the point.
That is what I'm saying, yes.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Simple as that. Because let me point out that, let me show you something. I don't know what's going to happen if I do this. If I say 0.7.
Your fingers will explode.
One digit there. What the hell is that?
No. Well, ignore the dollar aborted. We are aware of that. We are working on that.
Yeah, that's a freakish sort of bug.
Yeah, okay, fine. But my point is that you're going to pad with zeros in percent form because you have to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And let me give you a better example. Let's say, okay, so that's fine. This is going to look stupid again. Yeah, it just looks stupid. I mean, people won't use this. The whole point is to be able to get a plot where you mark off percentage points, right? Where you say range of, let's take a look at what this looks like. Range of 0 to 1 in steps of 0.1. I want to mark these in percentage points. Okay, it just looks stupid. We all know this looks stupid. We don't even need to discuss it. I mean, I understand, this is a thing for formatting things so that people get percentages.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sorry.
I will make the change.
Okay.
I do not think it looks stupid, but I will make the change.
Have you ever seen anybody write 20 point percent?
I think I've done it.
Really?
Well, it's more common to say 20.0% if you want that precision, really.
Exactly.
Arguably, yes.
And Francisco is noting we never show this in Wolfram Alpha. Yeah, because nobody wants it. Right. Sorry.
What happens if you have a smaller range of numbers? So like 0 to 0.1 in steps of 0.01 or something?
Yeah, I mean, this is, that's exactly what we want. 1%, 2%, 3%.
So sorry, I meant 005.
Magnificent. 1.5%, beautiful. But 2% doesn't make it.
And is
Before I did
2%
it,
in that going to look?
Okay, look, the alternative, which we don't want to do, is to say 2.0% because we don't actually know it's, well, okay, the right thing to do. I understand that there's inconsistency here because, look, does percent form have a second argument?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
What is it?
It's a precision value like number form.
What is that background? Do we really have to listen to this background? Okay.
It's
So-
probably the office next to me.
Okay. All right. But so what does this doing? Because I don't see anything happening here.
It's precision value.
I think you should try that with the first example.
Could you try to not be on a speakerphone or something? You're on speakerphone? Because otherwise we shouldn't be hearing all that background noise.
We closed our door. It might still be the office next door.
But if you're on a headset, it doesn't pick up from that distance. Anyway, never mind.
I am on a headset.
Okay. So then I don't think it's you. Okay. All right. So what's your point here? You want to say do 5-digit precision there. Yeah, that's fine. So what I'm saying here is this should, could you please put yourself on mute? I'll put you on mute. In the case where you have that number, like if I say percent form of 2, for example, it's presumably going to give 2.0%, right?
Well, this depends on the padding option. So there is a padding option that tells what do we use to pad. And I think the default here is blank. We could use zeros. And then it would show the zeros.
Right. Which I think is what we should do in this case, much like the around case.
Okay.
So in other words, comma 2 will mean 2-digit precision that you're showing.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
So in the case of 0.5, that would somewhat screwily mean 0.50, right? Or is that not correct?
I think so. We can also use the notation precision, comma, accuracy, and then we control the accuracy.
Well, to my mind, okay, what I think we need for this case, right, of percentages is I think we need to know how many digits do we show, right? So this would be literally, if it's 0, we would be showing 0.0% if it's 2 digits. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, those zeros. Yes, with zeros, we have to control accuracy.
I understand. I'm not telling you how to implement it. I'm just saying that I think in terms of result, what we need is we'd get 2.0%. If it's 2-digit, well, shoot, that's not right. See, then we'll end up with 55%, which is 2-digit precision. This is more complicated. What we're going to want to say, okay, so here's the deal. Anything to the left of the decimal point in the percent is free, so to speak. I think what we're going to want is we're going to want a number that just says how many digits to the right of the decimal point do we have. See what I'm saying? Because we know the scale for percentages. We don't necessarily for other numbers, but we do for percentages.
I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel here on that second argument. We can, without too much fuss, make the change you're advocating to get rid of the decimal point when there would be nothing to the right of it.
No, but look, the point that I'm dealing with is what if you want kind of everything to be consistently, see what I'm saying? We want on the one hand, okay, what if I want this case, right? Where I say 0.5% and 55.0%.
This can be controlled with the second argument, infinity, comma 1.
Okay, well, so long as you can map that from forget the infinity part. I mean, we just want something where it's an easy to use percent form thing where you just say how many digits to the right of the decimal point.
Okay, so we would need to invent a notation for that. So
Yeah,
only
this takes it into a new realm of headache, very close to a code freeze. What we're trying to do now is invent a different notation from all the other number forms, which we can do.
Yeah, okay. All
But
right, look,
this is,
the
you
thing
know,
that is needed for this release is that the decimal point has to disappear for these things.
can do.
The next thing that we need to do is to think through what we actually want here. Okay?
Mhm.
And to me, I mean, people want to use these to label plots, basically. And the question is, what do they want, right? Do they want to specify? Now, it could be that we simply default the thing. You know, the default action is fine, but people are going to want to write 0.5%, 2.0%, I think.
Mhm.
Or maybe they want 0.5% and then just 2%. I'm not sure.
Probably we need to allow both.
Yeah, but how do we specify that? That's the point.
Well, the accuracy, we would need to invent some new notation for the second argument, like put the number in a list.
What about just if the accuracy were spec to be 1? Wouldn't that be the right thing to force it to give 2.0?
Yes, but right now we have to write a pair. So right now you cannot give only an accuracy. It has to be a pair.
Correct.
Accuracy.
Sure.
So we can say 5,1 and it will work.
Are you explaining? Sorry, I wasn't. Okay, look, yeah, we're going to have to wrap because I have to get to another thing here. But just to talk about map across is a name that makes me scratch my head every time I see it.
Mm-hmm. I do prefer set map.
Let's implement it as that.
Okay.
That argument being a position spec, having the exception that a single list means not a deep single position.
Yes, this is something you requested.
Yes.
It's an exception with respect to the other position specs, but
I think it's okay for this case.
Yeah.
All right, good. All right,
Mm-hmm.
I should go to my next thing. Oh, I noticed in the live stream, George pointing out that there are high-res images of Antarctica, he thinks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, all right, thanks, guys. So it looks like we've got some knitting and things which we have to schedule in at some point.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, all right, see you guys soon.